KTM RC390 has established itself as the benchmark for entry-level sports bikes. But now, there's a new player in this segment, the Yamaha YZF R3. Can the Yamaha R3 knock the RC390 off its throne? Let's find out. Now in this segment, if you want to rule, you have to have a full fairing, clip-on handlebars, and most importantly, a meaty rear tire to complete the sports bike look. And both these bikes have all that and more. The Yamaha YZF R3 has got the styling spot on. Right from the sharply designed split headlamps, the beautifully crafted fairing, all the way down to that R6 designed taillight. The R3 is a looker all the way. In comparison, the RC390 is a love-it-hate-it design. The bike boasts some awesome details like that lovely orange exposed chassis, that wedge tank, and that brilliantly designed rear seat. But as a whole, the design can be termed as a little too radical by some. The instrument console on both the bikes offer an exhaustive amount of information like 2 trip meters, a gear indicator, a shift light, a clock, and the works. However, information is easier to grasp on the R3 simply because everything is so well placed out as compared to the RC's cluttered instrument console. Getting on the RC's saddle, you immediately recall KTM's tagline, "Ready to race." The RC's seating is as committed as it can get, thanks to the low set clip-ons and the highest saddle seat height. The R3 on the other hand has a comfortable riding position. The seat is perfect with the right amount of cushioning, and the foot pegs aren't too rear set either. Overall, I'd call it a split decision when it comes to design, but give it to the R3 when it comes to ergonomics and build quality. Let's begin with the Yamaha here. This is a brand new mill we're talking about, and the inline 2-cylinder engine comes with the works like a DO8C, 4-valve fuel injection, forged pistons, and diacetyl cylinders, and then some. What that translates into is 42 PS of power and 29.6 Nm of torque. When pitted against the RC390, the KTM has a cylinder less, but still puts out 43.5 PS of power and a meaty 35 Nm of torque, and is just as state-of-the-art as the Yamaha with 4 valves, forged piston, and a fuel injection and more. Both the bikes sport a 6-speed gearbox, but somehow the shift action on the Yamaha felt a little more precise. Off the mark, the KTM simply lunges forward, and if you get the launch right, you'll hit 100 km/h in a scant 5.8 seconds. While the R3 follows, taking 6.6 seconds for the same. KTM hit the limiter the moment you managed to hit 178 km/h, while the R3 managed to cross 180 km/h on the speedo. So the KTM does win the number game, but then the R3 isn't too far behind. If you crave brutal performance and need the fastest bike in its class, KTM is the king. But if you prefer refinement and better everyday usability, then the R3 is the easier bike to live with. It's only when you ride both these bikes back to back that you realize how different they really are. Hitting the twisties, the KTM really comes into its own, especially in tight corners. It feels extremely agile, and the stiffer suspension setup, along with those fantastic Metzeler tires, means you can really stitch corners like no other. The R3 may not have got upside down forks like the KTM, but its regular suspension works wonders. On daily commuted and bad roads, the R3 does a brilliant job of absorbing the bumps and feels extremely comfortable. You can ride it around all day in most conditions, but the R3 feels a little heavy when you try to change directions quickly. The MRFs that come with the R3 aren't too bad on their own, but in the exalted company of the Metzellers, they start feeling a little lacking, especially when you start pushing the bike harder. If you like to do track riding or simply love riding your bike in corners and don't really care two hoots about long distance riding or comfort, the RC390 will make sure you smile from year to year every time you gun the throttle. But if you want to do a little bit of everything and still not complain about body ache, then the R3 is your bike. Both the bikes come with discs on either ends and stop just as well as they accelerate. But the KTM thankfully has ABS, which makes emergency stops a lot more safer. The R3's bite feels much more progressive, but sadly it lacks ABS, which I think should have been offered at least as an option. No matter how different, in the end it all boils down to which is better. The Yamaha R3 is the latest entrant in this segment, and other than that, the KTM competes with the Kawasaki Ninja 300, which is now a little long in the tooth. Yamaha has made sure that the R3 looks brilliant, has a comfy riding position, and friendly riding manners as well. Priced at Rs 3,26,000, it's cheaper than the Ninja as well. It all looks good till the KTM comes into the picture. Armed with ABS, better tires, projector headlamps, more power, and all this at a price of Rs 2,14,000. The RC390 is over a lakh cheaper, making it feel like a bargain of the century. Yes, it's not as comfortable or as refined as the R3, but with a price tag like that, these niggles seem livable with. As good as the Yamaha is, the RC390 sweeps up victory with more equipment, more performance, and a way cheaper price tag. Made in India has never worked this well before.